Hey, welcome in everyone to the Voice of College Football. We're here on a Tuesday afternoon. We got David Waters standing by. Just want to remind everyone, as we posted here in recent days on our Florida channel, that this channel will cease to exist. There will be a channel here, but it will not have Voice of College Football Florida Gators content. So please move on over to our SEC channel that we just launched about a week ago. We've left the link in the chat. We've left it all over the place. We will continue to do so you can make an easy move over to our SEC channel. So there will be no reduction of Florida Gators content here at the Voice of College Football. If anything, we will amp up the number of posts concerning Florida Gators football, but they will be over on the SEC channel. As of September 1st, no Florida Gators content here at the Voice of College Football on this Florida channel. All right, let's get to it. Let's talk some football. We've got David Waters here from Gators Breakdown, and that is your number one source for Florida football content. So get on over to Gators Breakdown on your favorite audio platform or right here on YouTube with David. Dave, how's it going today?
Mark, it's hot down here in Florida, and Florida still hot on the recruiting trail as well as we're in fall camp. So
so let's get there first, because Mike Norvell's doing a nice job. His Florida State recruiting ranking has jumped here in recent weeks with some nice gets. We did see them put in a season last year where they showed some hope for the future. Tons of would-be NFL prospects that could have jumped to the draft coming back to Florida State. They seem to be primed to take a shot at Clemson. We see them in the top 10. So there's a little proof of concept there. When it comes to Billy Napier, how do you credit? Of course, NIL has to always factor into it these days, but everybody's got money. Everybody that they're recruiting against has serious NIL offers as well. What do you credit the Billy Napier and staff's recruiting surge to?
A couple things, Mark. I think relationship building. I think Billy Napier is about as genuine as they come, down to earth as they come, and I think it took some time to build relationships. Also took time, as you said, to kind of get NIL as a factor at Florida, get everybody on the same page, from administration to boosters, all that. NIL was good. But now it's top tier there with Florida Victoria's leading the way there for NIL. But I think relationship building, and Mark, I always say, the earlier in a coach's tenure, on-field results don't really matter, but the further you get along from year one, the results on the field will start mattering. So Billy Napier's only had 1 year, on the field, a 6-7 season. So I don't think the results are going to affect him too much until, hopefully not for Florida's sake, you're putting bad records together in year 2, 3, or 4. But now I don't think that's hurt Florida too much. So I still think there is plenty to sell as far as playing time goes for the top of these guys. You're in the state of Florida, but surprisingly, a lot of their top recruits are outside of the state of Florida. So I just think it's mainly the relationship building. I think that goes a long way for Billy Napier right now. I just think being able to sell some freshmen you played last year, like Trevor Etienne is a true freshman. Game 1 versus Utah, he's sitting there making plays. Shamar James was an all-SEC freshman, and I just think him being able to point to, hey, these are freshmen I played last year as well. You're going to get on the field if you come here at Florida. That's where this roster is at. There's plenty of opportunity at a big-time SEC program. You can come on the field and play in the brightest of stages. So I think there's still a lot to sell for Florida. And Mark, but I've always said it. Recruiters recruit. Billy Napier was known to be a recruiter. Did it get off to a little slower start than people thought? Yeah, it probably did. But I do think that recruiting mentality, that recruiting reputation that he was garnering when he got the job at Florida, that's what we're seeing.
And there could be a selling point there as well. Alabama's dominated this league for 15 years under Nick Saban. Georgia's doing it right now. That, you can be on a championship team there, certainly, but you almost get lost in the factory line, the conveyor belt of everybody there. You could do something special at Florida where you still have a legendary tradition, all the resources, everything right there, like you do any other SEC power, but you could be part of that group that brings us back. And that could be appealing to a lot of players.
Absolutely. That has been a selling point, and some guys have mentioned it too, that bringing Florida back is something, that something they have pointed to of joining this. So, and plus I also think you're getting that quarterback in early. I mean, DJ Lagway, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, you got him in early in the fold. And I don't know how many direct, I mean, there are a few, but direct relationships from him. I just think, once you get that high profile quarterback in your class and you get it in there pretty early, I think it's a trickle down effect. Whether it be direct or indirect, I think bringing in a quarterback pretty early, one of the best quarterbacks in the country, had a huge effect on the rest of this class in Florida's big time hot summer.
Folks, as you see on the banner, as of September 1st, no more Florida content of Voice of College Football here on this channel. We've got an SEC channel that we've started. And again, first and foremost, you follow Dave there on Twitter and go to Gators Breakdown for the very best in Florida football coverage on a daily basis there. All right, David, let's take the extremes out. Florida has some disastrous season. They lose some recruits maybe because of it, or they take off and blow everybody away. A reasonable season you don't think is going to really factor into the relationships they've built to kind of keep this class together?
Yeah, Mark, I think that was pretty important for Billy Napier to get. I mean, this is 22 commits now with Wardell Mack committing on Monday. I think it was pretty important because, look, it's not like he's going out there and selling, hey, Florida's about to go win 10 games. And that's how he got these guys. Florida's coming off 2 6-7 seasons. The outlook for 2023, this coming up season, is not all that great anyway. It's not like he's selling success past or in 2023 to get these guys. So I think, as you said, if you take the extreme, okay, that probably could affect it a little bit. But, take away the extreme. I think getting these guys committed, that goes a long way. Could there be some deflections? Yes. But I think getting a lot of these guys committed before the season, most of them are going to hang around. I don't think there's going to be a mass exodus of decommits there. I think where the season could come into play are some of the targets that's out there, Mark. That's where I think, if Florida goes on and wins somehow 9-10 games, then a lot of these big-time targets that they're still after, they may end up in this class. Or if Florida goes out there and goes 6-7, 7-5 again, you put the class probably holds about where it is right now, and probably still, I would say, still good for probably 6-7 finish.
David Waters, Gators Breakdown, breaking down Florida football for us. David's been joining us for a long, long time and does an amazing job there with his Gators Breakdown podcast, YouTube, and also your favorite audio platform. So, David, how often have you been able to make it to camp? How much exposure, how much admittance does the media get with Billy Napier?
Only about 10-15 minutes of practice, except for the one open portion. The whole open practice that they had a couple Saturdays ago. I could not make it to that one. My parents' birthday. It was my parents' birthday weekend. Florida didn't really give a heads up that they were going to open practice, so I couldn't really shuffle plans all that much. So, but plenty to take away from that. Open portions of practice as well. A lot of good scrimmage notes came out. Some eyes there with the scrimmage that's supposed to be closed, but we'll get the intel coming out from there, and a pretty good bit. So I still am a big believer of what they want out gets out. I think that's how a lot of major programs work. And what we're hearing, Mark, of course, Graham Mertz was named the quarterback last week, right after the first scrimmage, and very successful right now in the short to intermediate range. I think the biggest question for him now is consistency, and then can he do it down the field as well? I think leaning on this Florida run game will help him a bit. I think Florida's got the backs. They got the offensive line. The run game will be there. Unearthing some of these true freshmen Florida have brought in at the receiver position. I think Florida knows what they have in Ricky Pearsall. I think they are excited about the potential of Trey Wilson and Andy Jean and Aiden Mizell. If those guys can live up to the reputation and Graham Mertz can get them the ball, I do think his biggest thing is take care of the ball and just get the ball to the playmakers. I think Florida will unearth enough of them, but can he kind of get over the reputation at Wisconsin of when you play the better defenses, not to fold? That's going to be him. There's going to be a lot of good defenses he plays this year. He's going to have to be a little more consistent than what we saw at Wisconsin post-snap. He had no problem getting Wisconsin in the right play, in the right checks, in the right calls. But after the snap, that's where the issues came. And we'll see he spoke to the media actually today, and I got some quotes here. He goes, it's fun when you know how to attack a defense. Napier designs an offense that frees you up. You can go play. There's always an answer. I love this offense 100%. So he's saying all the right things. He's done all the right things. Mark, we just got to wait till about 2 weeks and 2 days before we see it on display in Utah. We can talk all we want. He can talk all we want about how good we feel about it, but it's all going to come when the lights are on.
So with Rob Sale and company running this offense, do you think it's been more of a situation where, okay, we've had to change this offense because the two quarterbacks, Richardson to Mertz, are so different?
Yeah.
Or, hey, we run the same offense. We just eliminate some plays. We emphasize other plays that fit Graham Mertz. And obviously, he's going to play more within the structure of the offense and not go take off and improvise. And that's not necessarily a bad thing because Anthony Richardson is Anthony Richardson. But do you think there have been many changes to the offense, or they're just going to run it more in a Graham Mertz style and gear the plays toward him?
I've heard that they may open it up a bit more than we originally thought. I still think it's going to be a run-focused offense, no doubt about it. And look, that's just because that's some of your best players on this team as well. Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne are good. You don't want to take the ball out of their hands, but hey, look, there's going to be a time when Graham Mertz is asked to go make a play. There's going to be a game somewhere along the way he's going to have to win. Now, I don't know how consistently he can do that, and if Florida's going to be in a position to where he has to do that. But look, we know there are moments he's going to have to put the team on his shoulder. There are games he's going to have to put the team on his shoulders. How many times does he have to do that? I like this run game to carry the offense. I like the young receivers. I like Ricky Pearsall, and I like with Billy Gonzalez coming back, some development of Frazier's and Burke and Douglas. Some experienced receivers that Florida already has. But yeah, Mark, you're right. I mean, going are the out of nowhere 60-yard runs. But is the offense a little more consistent? Does Billy Napier know what he's getting in his quarterback? Play in, play out, drive in, drive out, game in, game out. And that offense may look better just because at least he knows what he's getting. He put so much on Anthony Richardson last year, and you didn't know what you were getting at the quarterback spot. So maybe if you know what you're getting on a more consistent basis, maybe that helps you call a better game. Maybe you know how to, look forward in a game and design a game plan or call this play then and call this play there. I mean, I think the running backs will be involved in the passing game a bit more than we saw. They got some more. Arliss Boardingham, I think, is a tight end waiting to burst onto the scene as more of a pass-catching tight end. So I think there's a lot of good things to point to. Maybe how this offense changes as far as consistency and getting the running backs involved in the passing game a bit more. But yeah, Mark, I mean, it's just there's are things we're hearing behind the scenes of how they'll open it up. It's just it's. We got to see it. I mean, we're here 2 weeks before game time, and it's really we can talk all the good talk we want, but at some point, toe comes to leather, and we'll see what an opposing defense can do for this Gator offense.
And we'll see what the Gator defense can do, and we're also going to find out very quickly. So it's no, East Tennessee, then the Citadel, then somebody else, and then finally into conference play. It's bam, get hit the mouth at Utah, and traveling out there and traveling for a road game. Some people outside of Gator Nation may not realize this. An out-of-conference, on-campus game outside the state of Florida for the first time since Syracuse in 1989, I believe was the year. So they travel all the way out to Utah. We know what happened. Great game last year. Cam Rising throws the pick in the end zone. Florida escapes. Now, they may not see Cam Rising. That's the big mystery of how to prepare for this team. And then we understand Brandon Rose, their backup quarterback, took a heavy hit this past weekend. People are talking some kind of laceration, a lung issue, or a rib issue, I should say. I'm sorry. So they got to prepare for who knows what at Utah. But right out of the gate, we're going to find out a lot about this team.
Yeah, Brent Keithy, their outstanding tight ends beat up too. And the word is he may not even play this game either. So Utah could be on their third string quarterback. They could be without their best tight end who – if he wouldn't have got hurt last year, he's in the NFL this year. And Kincaid doesn't blow up like he did last year for Utah's offense. And it was going into last year, it was Brent Keithy who was the tight end to watch out for. He hurt Florida in that first game last year. Then he goes down with injury, and Dalton Kincaid steps up and is an all-conference tight end, one of the best tight ends in the country, and goes on to get drafted pretty high in the NFL draft. So, they could be without, their top two tight ends. From a year ago, and also on their third string quarterback. So yeah, that's just something worth monitoring there on the Utah side of things. And hey, look, the quarterback still was on the roster last year. You turn it back to Florida situation. I think when Graham Mertz came in, we thought he'd be the starter for sure, but he wasn't on the roster last year. He didn't get to go through a season as Florida quarterback last year. So Utah, with their quarterbacks, at least have experience of being the Utah quarterback there. So, but look, at least I think they've come up all this is about rising is no surprise. That happened in the bowl game last year. So I'm sure they've been prepping since spring, since fall camp has started. They knew this was a possibility. He may not play in the game, so they've had some time to adjust and game plan and all that. But Mark, I mean, you got to think about Utah. How do they approach it? They got Florida game 1, Baylor game 2. I mean, that's an 0-2 start staring them in the face if they can't get healthy before they even start Pac-12 play. So if the national championship is aspiration, does that force the issue? Do they keep rising out and maybe hope that he comes back week 2 and then they go on some hot streak? There's a lot to weigh right there for Utah and Kyle Whittingham. But yeah, when Florida travels to Utah, they may not be facing Utah's best.
And so, turning to the defense, want to get your take on where we stand there. Austin Armstrong, Sean Spence. How has that dynamic worked? Do they have specific roles in coordinating the defense that have been communicated to the media?
I still mostly think it's Austin Armstrong's overall approach. Spencer, co-DC, we don't get a whole lot of information. That may be mostly title only. Really, when bonuses come into that, money comes into play when you start getting those type of titles. But I'm sure there's some meeting of the minds there. Corey Raymond and all the knowledge he brings too on the defensive back end. But from all we can gather, this is Austin Armstrong's defense, his approach, his aggressive approach to this. Aggressive is, I don't know how many times these players are asked about Austin Armstrong and what he brings to the table, and what you hear is hype and aggression and something that's different than what they were getting with Patrick Toney, which most time than not is about the same defense, but how they run the same defense is going to be different. There's going to be a lot more aggression, a lot more blitzing, and a lot more confusion, I think, going along up front, not necessarily playing it so safe the way Patrick Toney did last year. So, Bart, it's one of the greatest mysteries. We sat here and since 2020, we've told ourselves there's no way the defense can be worse than it was that year, and they have found ways to be worse in some ways. So now it's just one of those. We got to see it. I believe they're deeper up front in the front 7. I think they're deeper up front at defensive tackle, linebacker. There's some questions at safety. No doubt about that. But you got Jason Marshall at corner, who's got the potential to be one of the best corners in the SEC. So you've got answers. You are pretty deep. Now, those guys have got to step up and kind of prove they are deeper than what we have seen from Florida the last couple of years. But even with Justice Boone going down last week, unfortunately, he tore his ACL in the scrimmage. He'll be out for the season. They're moving Tyreek Sapp over to edge, let him play there more. Thankfully, Florida was kind of deep up front. I think they can overcome that injury a good bit there. But there's a lot of good things to feel good about this defense, Mark. It's been 3 years now where you can't point to much that they've done good. This is more of a wait-and-see approach for this defense.
Boone, the first starter in the conference that was reported to be out for the season for the entire conference. So unfortunately, Florida's got to make up for that. One of the best podcasts that you're going to find, not just on Florida football, but college football, one of the highest rated, most popular Gators breakdown. A day before we let you get on with your day, I'm going to have one eyeball on Nebraska, Minnesota on Thursday night, and then it's going to be Utah and Florida playing at the same time. I always want to know, who are those cutting edge players, guys that could be breakout guys? Who do you really like that we may not be real familiar with right now?
Mark, I'm going to go with, and I've talked about this a little bit with the fan base and my followers there. I think Florida has an element of surprise a little bit with the quarterback change, going to Graham Mertz, as we mentioned, kind of this offense maybe opening up in some ways. I think it's time to unleash these freshmen that don't have tape on. I mean, we keep hearing a whole lot about, and look, it's dangerous hearing about freshmen in spring and fall camp and expecting them to do something right away. But I think we're hearing too much about Trey Wilson and Aiden Mizell and Andy Jean. So I do think by 11 o'clock that Thursday night, you're going to know one of, if not more than one of, Eugene Wilson or Trey Wilson, Andy Jean, Aiden Mizell. I do think one of those guys will break out, and you'll know their name by the end of that game. So I'm going to go with a true freshman. I don't do that too often, Mark, but I think it'll be one of these. And I'm not even saying they'll be the lead receiver for Florida, but there'll be one big play. There'll be one difference-making play I think one of those freshmen will make.
And that's not only a week 1 game 1, but that's a national TV game where everybody's going to have their focus on Florida football. And that's also going to be against a Power 5, top 10 or 15 opponent. That's also going to be on the road in Rice-Eccles Stadium, one of the more difficult places to play in college football.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I think not counting 2020 because of COVID, I think their record there is really, really, really good. So Florida's got their hands full. No matter if Cam Rising plays or not, no matter who's available for Utah, it's going to be a tough game for Florida.
Yeah, Kyle Whittingham can coach, so he'll have those guys ready. No question about that. Gators Breakdown is your destination, folks, if you love college football, not just Florida football. If you love college football, want to keep track of all the top programs. David, we always appreciate the time. Have a great rest of whatever summer you have left before we get ramped up here real quick.
Absolutely. Thanks, Mark.
All right. Great stuff from David Waters. David and I go back a long ways, and he does a phenomenal job. Again, he has the very best Florida Gators football podcast. It's the audio on your favorite audio platform, and it's also available right here on YouTube. And again, we wanted to make this very clear that starting on September 1st, we will no longer have any Florida Gators content here posted on this Florida channel. It's all going to be moving over to the SEC channel that we provided. So that description is going to be placed in the description section. The link to that SEC channel is going to be placed in the description section of all the videos here. And we want to get everybody moved on over there. We already have some really good Florida Gators content there from High Top Sports, from David and others. So we're going to continue even without a Florida channel. We're actually planning to do more Florida football content than what we did before, because we've got, in addition to David, that we've known David for 7 or 8 years, in addition to David, we have some great Florida content providers that we'll be talking to and meeting with and having good discussions with on a regular basis. So great analysis on Florida football coming your way. Again, grab the SEC channel link. Let me get that to you right now. Get on over there and subscribe, and you can keep track of the rest of the SEC as well. And maybe we'll have a Gators channel on down the road at some point. But at this point, everything at the SEC channel here at the Voice of College Football. So let me get that set up for you and leave that that link in the chat. We've got a busy day here at the Voice of College Football, as always, on a Tuesday. I will be on the Wolfman's Call show on the West Virginia channel at 4 p.m. Eastern time, talking college football with Dale Wolfley, former West Virginia offensive lineman. He's got a show on our West Virginia channel here at the Voice of College Football every Monday through Thursday at 4 Eastern. And for the first time, I'll be joining the Wolfman today on the West Virginia channel at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Then we've got our back-to-back Iowa-Nebraska block, the Hawkeyes live show over on the Iowa channel every Tuesday with Corey Bratta from the Hawkeye of the Storm, 5:30 Eastern, 4:30 Central. That's on the Iowa channel every Tuesday. And then Nebraska Live with Greg Peterson from Husker Online, the On3 platform for Nebraska football. Greg and I get together to talk Nebraska football at 6 Central, 7 Eastern, 6 Central, Nebraska football every Tuesday. So talking and surfing at the same time, not one of my best qualities here, but we want to make sure that all of you can find our SEC channel. So we're going to leave the link there in the live chat, and we are also going to leave that in the description section as well. Let's find it. Let's find it. It's not too prominent in the search here for me to get the proper link. There it is. Here we go. All right. So again, we appreciate everybody being here. Thank you for all your support in building this channel to 12 or 1,300 subscribers. Head on over to our SEC channel. Let's get all of you moved over. And again, you're going to find more Florida football content now on the SEC channel. And if you want to keep up with the rivals, some of you do, some of you don't. I get some Gator fans are like, just want Florida football talk. And others are like, give me LSU, give me Georgia, give me Tennessee. Want to keep up with the rivals. So we will do that as well. So it's all there for you. Okay, let's get through all this Here we go. Please subscribe to our SEC channel. Okay. The link is in the chat. So please head on over to our SEC channel. We've already posted videos. Again, tons of videos on Florida. Still in the docket, ready to be released. Alabama, LSU, Georgia, and others. Kentucky as well. Somebody stumbled upon our Kentucky video. It's got like 2,000 views, even though we've got nobody on our SEC channel yet. Of course, you're all going to go on over there, and we've got about 12 or 1,300 here on the Florida channel. Hopefully, you all go subscribe to our SEC channel. Any comments or questions we need to hit before we leave? Jackson, appreciate you being here. Also, Gary, go Gators. Appreciate you guys checking us out. I know this is a very rare sighting. The Voice of College Football live on the Florida channel. We've never done this, but we wanted to get together with Dave this afternoon. We also wanted to let everyone know, again, that no more Voice of College Football content here on the Florida channel as of September 1st. Head on over to the SEC channel that you can grab right there and follow us right there. What do we got on the SEC channel right now? It's quite a bit. It's quite a bit already. We just launched about a week ago, and we've already posted maybe 15 videos there. We've got an LSU Alabama matchup video. We've got Mississippi State talk. We've got another Bama video with Gary Harris from Alabama TV station. Their sports director has been covering Alabama forever, and Gary Harris is phenomenal. We've got a conversation with him. Got a look at Billy Napier, and we've got the Ole Miss quarterback decision by Lane Kiffin. We've got a Georgia offensive preview, Bama offensive preview, Arkansas offensive preview, and we're getting together again with Ty Hudson to talk Arkansas defense. We'll have that video posted here soon. We've got the Hugh Freeze quarterback decision, Peyton Thorne, and Robbie Ashford, of course. We've got a look at the Kentucky offense and the LSU offense as well, and so much more on the docket to be posted over on the SEC channel. Please get on over there right now. Join us at 4 o'clock if you like West Virginia football and all of college football. We're talking with the Wolfman over on the West Virginia channel at 4 Eastern, 5:30 Eastern's Iowa Live on the Hawkeyes channel, Nebraska Live at 7 Eastern, right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you being here, and we'll see you very soon on the SEC channel.